So, with a Mordekaiser rework just around the foreseeable corner, I would like to go over what the history of Mordekaiser was and what I'm hoping to see in the future. Now, some of you might remember one of my earlier videos, What the Fuck Riot, where I first learned about the Mordekaiser Rework during the Juggernaut update. I ripped into Mordekaiser's Rework heavily, and to be quite honest, I stand by what I said then for the most part. I will link in the description below and probably put a tag in the video up in the right hand corner at this point if you want to watch it, but that is not why we're here today. Today we're going over the history of Mord and what I'm hoping for in the visual gameplay update. Now this is patch V1.0.0.75. I did a bit of research and discovered that I signed up with my current account in patch version 0.9.13. This was a very long time ago, almost 10 years at this point, and thus, because of this, I remember quite roughly when Mordekaiser came out, though I didn't start playing right away. Now, I am unable to find information on those early seasons, but starting late season 1, I had been a Mordekaiser main, and man was he a beast back then. I would even say he was the original Juggernaut. His kit was very similar to how he is today, at least on paper, though in gameplay it was quite a different animal. All his skills were AoE damage, except for his ultimate, and he was able to wave clear like a god. His old Q would strike up to 4 different creatures or champions, and if the target was alone for whatever reason, the strike would do double damage. His W would damage enemies near himself or an ally, because if you cast it on such, and would give them increased resistance stats. His E, which was utterly broken, dealt damage and increased his passive for every unit hit. His R was almost identical to what we have today, minus some numbers and the Dragon Ghost, of course. Now, so, with a Mordekaiser rework just around the foreseeable corner, I would like to go over what the history of Mordekaiser was and what I'm hoping to see in the future. Now, some of you might remember one of my earlier videos, What the Fuck Riot, where I first learned about the Mordekaiser Rework during the Juggernaut update. I ripped into Mordekaiser's Rework heavily, and to be quite honest, I stand by what I said then for the most part. I will link in the description below and probably put a tag in the video up in the right hand corner at this point if you want to watch it, but that is not why we're here today. Today we're going over the history of Mord and what I'm hoping for in the visual gameplay update. Now this is patch V1.0.0.75. I did a bit of research and discovered that I signed up with my current account in patch version 0.9.13. This was a very long time ago, almost 10 years at this point, and thus, because of this, I remember quite roughly when Mordekaiser came out, though I didn't start playing right away. Now, I am unable to find information on those early seasons, but starting late season 1, I had been a Mordekaiser main, and man was he a... It was easy just to max out your E, spam E into the minion wave while trading with the enemy, and never take damage. And you didn't always even need to hit the enemy with your E, and you just win the trade. Your E completely charged your shield while dealing damage with your Q and W and ult. Now this was nerfed, of course, in the next subsequent patches over the course of a few months, dropping down to 18 and then 5 at max rank, but even at 5, this was still very powerful. Now, in patch 1.0.0104, November of 2010, about 8 months after Mordekaiser was released, he received his first rework. This is the patch that changed him from a Juggernaut, which he had been since released, into the one of the most powerful burst mages in the game, only behind Leland, in my opinion. Now, why did this happen? Well, for one, his shield generation changed, so it increased by 30% of the damage done instead of 25, incentivizing you to build damage. Base damages increase across the board. AP ratios increase across the board, minus his Q, but that would be buffed in later patches. His E went from a to a 0.6 AP ratio, his W went from a 0.15 to a 0.2, and his ultimate went from a 0.016 to a 0.04 every tick over the duration of his ult, which was 10 seconds. And thus, a buff to his ultimate of 0.16 ratio to a 0.4 ratio, which is huge. And thus, Mordekaiser became a burst mage. And with some of the items, rest in peace, Deathfire Grasp, was one of the most potent mid laners in the game. When you could pop Deathfire Grasp, dealing 30% plus 3.5% per 100 AP, and then deal a nuke of 50% of their HP on your ultimate, now we have a problem. Now for a while, nothing really changed with Mordekaiser. He gained a few buffs, mostly exclusively to his Q and a movement speed buff from 315 to 340, but was left mostly unchanged until patch 5.4. That is a very, very long time. But during this patch, which was February of 2015, so almost 5 years, Mordekaiser received a number of changes. I wouldn't necessarily call it a rework, but several major changes nonetheless. First off, his base health regen was changed from 8.3 and decimated down to a parsley 3.3. A heavy nerf to Mord's laning phase, though in response to this, the health cost of his Q and W reduced by 5 across the board. His W received a damage nerf, AP ratio dropping back down to 1.5 from 0.2, though it gained the ability to cast on ally, minion, or champion, and they both gained movement speeds towards one another, which was quite nice. This patch also brought about a change to his ultimate, changing how the ghost scaling worked and stats that Mordekaiser stole from the enemy champion. All in all, though I would consider it a bit of a nerf, the changes weren't horrible, and would be used to bring Mordekaiser in line a bit. And then comes the big rework. 5.16. The Juggernaut rework. Bring us the Mordekaiser we have today. So, with that little trip down memory lane complete, what is going to happen to Mordekaiser now? His visual gameplay update has been confirmed, and if I had to guess, it will happen early next year. So what would I like to see from it? Well, for one, I want them to deepen and enhance the mythos of him being a necromantic warlord. Someone who brings fear upon the battlefield with his heavy armor, heavy weapons, and necromantic spells. I still want him to be a juggernaut, since, as I said earlier, that is what Mordekaiser was meant to be. I also, and I may be in the minority here, do not want any CC or crowd control, for those who don't know what CC means, given to Mordekaiser. I want him to hit hard, have survivability, and fight in the front lines. If I had to give a basic idea of a kit I would like to see, I would love him to have his current passive, adjusted somewhat, mind you. His Q to become a mix of his old Q, the AoE, and the current one, maybe ramping up with every swing until the third hit dealing AoE damage like his old Q. His W needs to be completely redone and changed. His E, well, I like it, needs to be redone and changed. And his R, his R, my favorite ability in the game. And I would love it if he could keep this ability. But I think it needs to change. It needs to become something different. It causes so many game-breaking bugs, and it is the source of almost all of his continuous bugs to this day. But if there was a way to redo his ultimate, still giving you that ghost, but not cause the game-breaking bugs, I would love it to remain as is. Minus the dragon ghosts. That's not necessary, I believe. I believe he should be able to build tanky and benefit from doing so instead of being gimped as he currently is if he builds tanky now. It could be, granted, that that currently there's a lack of good Juggernaut AP items, but I think you should be able to benefit from building tankier and not be completely useless as the game goes on. At the moment, he is a glass cannon, but without the consistent damage or the movement to be as such. And these were my thoughts on a Mord rework. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and that you will give me a like if you do, and comment down below. And a big thanks to Mordekaiser on YouTube for sparking this idea in me. And above all, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.